श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। ओम् पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णा प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः। प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला। अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी। कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं। लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणीन्द्ररुद्रमरुतस्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणा। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। Welcome to the study of the Bhagavad Gita. We are studying the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, wherein Sri Krishna reveals his cosmic form to his disciple Arjuna. Sri Krishna mentions about 3 types of people in the world. One, who are born or who are guided by Sat Shakti. That means with righteousness, those who are keen in improving their spiritual life and those who want to achieve to the highest good. They are born out of the Sat Shakti. So we can say that those who are real seekers after spiritual realization are those who are born of the Sat Shakti, the energies which are very favorable towards achieving their goal. And then the second type he talks, which is there he says, Sat Shakti are those who are Swasti iti uktva. In the 21st verse he says, Swasti iti uktva. Those who say, enough is enough, external world is enough, whatever I have got, I am happy with it, but now I want to have more of the divine qualities. They are the swastis. And then he talks about those who are bhitaha. That means those who are full of their tamas, who are full of the quality of fear. They want to worship, they will worship God only out of fear. See, where there is no love, if there is no love, or on the other hand, if there is fear, there is no love in it. True love is beyond fear. That's what he says. Swasti, fearful. That is, kechid bhitaha. But still they are worshipping the divine. One day they will reach the divine. And then he says, amihitvam surasanghaha vishanti. Surasanghaha are those who are of rajas. They want to do a lot. They want to work, and then they want to do good to the world. And having the realization of God or knowing God is just a byproduct of it. So the main purpose of those lives are to work selfishly as well as selflessly in order to do good to the world. I will make a mark in my life and I will show to the world that I was born. That type of people, that is rajas. They are full of rajas. So here the Sri Krishna says that such people are called as devas. That means they are, no doubt, they are great. They are unselfish also. But they do not have the ultimate vision, or they do not have the ultimate goal as of reaching me. So he says, amichatvam, yamihitvam surasanga vishanti kechid bhita. Some people worship me because they are afraid. They are afraid of their lives. They are afraid that I will punish them, and so on and so forth. So these are the different types of people who worship the divine. That's what Sri Krishna is saying. And in the next verse, 22nd verse, he also talks about the Rudra, Aditya. It means the whole of the people who control the forces of nature. They are all, of course, in me. That is what is shown here. Of course, Sri Arjuna is narrating all of this. And in the 23rd verse, he says, Rupam te rupam mahad. Your form is stupendous. Your form is wonderful, extraordinary. And he says, again, becoming the fearful person, he says, your faces, your eyes, your arms, your trunks, your thighs and legs are in millions. Therefore, and your fangs, that means the teeth that you have, they are almost crushing everyone. Bahu udaram bahu damshtra karalam. So when we stand far from the divine, we see this terrible form of the divine also. When we are very far, but when you approach nearer and nearer to the divine, you will see the benign form. Sri Ramakrishna used to mention that Kali, the form of Kali which he worshipped, from afar when you see, that means when you see her in that form, you will see that she is terrible, with tongue protruding, with blood everywhere, with hands cut and the heads cut. So when you see that from afar, you feel very stricken by it. But when you start going nearer, that is, when you start loving that form means when you start going nearer to that form, slowly you will see that Mother is all compassion, all love. She will envelop yourself with love, with her love. So Bahudaram Bahudam Strakaralam, he says, I see all of this because he is, Arjuna is now comparing himself with those fearful people. Originally he wanted the vision of the Lord, but when the Lord shows his dark form or his terrible form, he becomes unnerved, as it were. It happens in all of our lives. When we go through trials and tribulations, we feel unnerved, we're sometimes disappointed, and then cry out, where is God? Where is God? He's always there behind us. We have to overcome that fear. So where there is fear, there cannot be love. That is the idea. And then in the next verse, he talks about Nabhaha, how the form of the divine is covering everything. Nabhasprasham diptam anekavarnam yattananam dipta vishalanetram drishtva hitvam pravyatitantaratma dhritim na vindami shamancha Vishnu. He is afraid of it because there is still some unfulfilled desires in him. That is why he is afraid. As long as there are desires in our mind, so long will fear remain. Because we are afraid of losing something that we have got, or of losing something that we are going with, which we will get. If I am going to buy a new car, see, there are fears that somebody might come and scratch the car, or somebody might come and steal the car. So there is that fear also, whereas the desire is very much prominent in me, the fear of losing it, of getting hurt, is also very much over there. So as long as desires rule over us, so long will fear remain in us. So in order to get out of this cycle of desire and fear, we have to approach the divine. When we go to the divine and see that he is the repository of all goodness, is the repository of all wellness, of all love. Once we approach that and once we get to the very source, then we are not afraid at all. Nabhasprasham deeptam anekavarnam. When I see your form reaching up to the skies and it is shining with the various hues, when I see your face with mouth wide open as if he is determined to punish us, and his eyes large and glowing bright, I feel shaken to the core of my being with awe. O all-pervading one, my strength is exhausted and my mind is without peace. So that exhaustion is necessary. That exhaustion is necessary. I am tired. Swami Vivekananda writes in one of his letters, I am tired of this world. I am tired of this world. Enough of it. Once you say enough of it, then the Lord will fill ourselves with joy. So that's what that feeling or that sense of enoughness must come. That I only want that which gives me permanent peace, permanent joy. That must be a sadhaka's, a spiritual aspirant's desire. That's the only desire that one should possess. In the next verse, Arjuna again talks about the terrible face of Sri Krishna. Damshtra karalani cha te mukhani drushtva kalanala sannibhani tisho na jani nalabhe cha sharma prasida devesha jagannivasa. Even by beholding thy faces, resembling the fire of cosmic destruction, it is the fire of destruction, and striking terror with the fangs, I lose all sense of direction as also my presence of mind. O thou, the Lord of all and the home of the worlds, be propitious unto me. See, in spiritual life, unless and until we have done away with all our desires, done away with any kind of wanting, we will not be able to get eternal peace. That is the truth. And as if we want that highest good, then we should be also prepared to go through fire, as it were. In the next few verses there, he talks about the devouring in fire. So we have to go through the jaws of death, as it were. It is terrifying, no doubt about that. It is terrifying. But if we have the conviction, 100% conviction, that God is with me, God is with us, then we are not afraid. Just the other day I was listening to a Swami talking to a devotee. This devotee had gone through, he had served the center, served the temple for a very, very long time. So then came a time when he became extremely sick. And so the Swamis, two of the Swamis, went to see him. And one of them asked the question of this devotee, "How are you?" He said, "I am fine." But he said, "You are having so much of pain." He says, "Pain is a form of prasad from the Lord." And then the Swami also asked him the question, "Well, don't you ever think that you have served the Lord so much, and why did the Lord give you so much of pain?" So he said, "Well, I feel that I am really blessed that the Lord has chosen me to experience this pain. And I am very sure that I will reach him, that I will have his vision very soon. I am not afraid of death. I am not afraid of this pain that is coming on to me." So that is the type of conviction that one must get, that when trials and tribulations come, when pain comes, we have to have that conviction that the Lord is behind me. He is just testing me, giving all this poison, as it were. It is there, it comes first during the Samudra Manthan, when the oceans were churned for the sake of Amrita. First came all good things, no doubt, but afterwards came Halahala, that is the great poison, which almost killed all people who were trying to get the Amrita, churning the ocean. So that is representative of our individual lives also. When we are put into fire, as it were, we should know that something great is coming to us. Something which is permanent is going to come to us. But we must have that conviction, and the Bhagavad Gita is one scripture which through these verses teaches us that all these terrible things that happen have a reason behind it, so that one can go beyond this fear, one can go beyond the self-concern, just looking after only myself, but that there is a higher purpose to life than just looking after this cage called the body. There is something much greater than that. So he says here, "Amichatvam dhritarashtrasya putra sarve sahaivava nipala sangaihi bhishmo drona suta putrastathasau sahasmadiyairapi yodha mukyai vaktrani te tvaramana vishanti tamshtrakaralani bhayanakani kechit vilagna dashanantareshu sandrishyante churnitairuttamangai." All these hosts of kings along with the sons of Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, Drona and Karna, as also the principal warriors on our side, all are rushing headlong into thy fearful mouth, set with terrible fangs. Some are seen with their heads crushed and caught in the gaps of thy teeth. Bhagavad Gita is indicative of certain principles. Even the people who are there, that means the actors who are in the Bhagavad Gita, also have a purpose to teach. For example, the sons of Dhritarashtra, 100 of them, they represent the desires, that is unending desires that are within every one of us. Dhritarashtra, that means one who is holding on very tightly to one's possessions. Rashtra, of course, means kingdom. One who is holding on very tightly to his possessions. That means the desires are so much that one does not want to give up. And naturally, the outcome of such a person, one who is holding on to them, is only desires, is only wants. That is the hundreds, the myriads of wants that we all have. So, Dhritarashtrasya putraha, the sons of Dhritarashtra, they are all also going into it. And then he talks about Bhishma. Bhishma means one who is very, very much stubborn, one who is, one who thinks that he is the greatest or his wisdom is the best. So Bhishma, even though he was a great soul, yet he was very stubborn in his views. See, one of our Swami Yatishwaranandaji, in his book Meditation and Spiritual, he has written a book called Meditation and Spiritual Life. So you will see there, read there one sentence which is very significant. In matters of principle, be firm, be adamant as a rock in matters of principle. But with regards to opinions, float with the stream. With regard to opinions, float with the stream. Somebody says that, shows the sun and says it is the moon. Are you going to fight with such a person? Just allow him to do. Allow him to have his own view. Why bother? So opinions, everybody has a right to his or her own opinions. So let the opinions be there. Do not worry about it. But with regard to the principles, the principle of honesty, the principle of righteousness, the principle of truthfulness, etc., the one's principle that one has to have in one's life, with regard to that, be adamant like the rock. But it does not move. Of course, when a great earthquake comes, even the rock also will go away. So that also will go away. That's a different thing. It will merge into infinity. That's a different thing. So here he says Dhritarashtra, he had firm convictions, but also he was very stubborn with his opinions. That was the problem with Bhishma. And then Drona also was one who had stubbornness in him. And Karna was one who had enormous ego, because he was one of the greatest warriors in those times. Even though he was born of righteous, that is, Mother Kunti was his original mother, he didn't know about it. So even though he was born to Kunti, and he was extremely benevolent to a very great extent, he could give anything. At the end he had to give his protective armor, kavach also. So much was he, but yet he had that ego that I am somebody, that I am a great warrior. So that ego also has to be destroyed. So desires, and then stubbornness, And then the other thing is the degraded knowledge. Bhishma is also known for as a knowledgeable person, but his knowledge was degraded because he had eaten the food of the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra. He remained obedient and he did not voice his unwillingness or his protest against the Kauravas. So if those who have read the Mahabharata, you know the position of Bhishma. And Drona also is a stubborn person. So all these are ones that the divine will crush. Desires will be taken away from us. The degraded knowledge will be upgraded to divine knowledge, and then that stubbornness will be demolished, so to say, and the ego will be curbed totally. So that's the idea that these verses are giving here. All these hosts of kings, they are all entering into you. That's what he says. Some are thy fearful mouth set with terrible fangs are taking them in. They are all rushing headlong into that. So the next verse, and then he says, the other word that he uses is asmadiyaihi, from on our side, that is the side of the Pandavas. The Pandavas are represented as the 5 koshas which we all possess. What is it? Annamaya kosha, the sheath of the physical entity, Annamaya, that which is full of food. And Bhima is indicative of that Annamaya. If you have those of you who have read the Mahabharata know how much of food Bhima could eat. He could eat great mountains of food, as it were. So Annamaya, his body is made of full of Anna, that is food. And then Pranamaya. Pranamaya is the sheath of action, of activity. Prana, by normal meaning, prana means the breath, inflow, ingoing and outgoing breath. And of course, without breath, one cannot function in one's life. So, without breathing. Therefore, Pranamaya is represented by Arjuna, the great warrior, extremely active. And then Annamaya Prana, Manomaya, the sheath of the manas, the mind, unwavering. Sahadeva is known to be the person who represents the Manomaya kosha. Sahadeva, one whose organs or indriyas, Deva is another name of the indriyas or organs is Devas. So, Sahadeva, one whose organs are very much controlled, are in total control. He is known as Sahadeva. So, Manomaya kosha, he represents the Manomaya kosha. And then we have Nakula, the other brother, the 4th brother. He is known as the repository of knowledge. He was a very wise man, extremely knowledgeable about the scriptures as well as the other arts and formulation of military, etc., etc. So knowledge, he was full of knowledge. And then comes Anandamaya kosha, the sheath of joy, that is represented by Yudhishthira, the eldest of the Pandavas. So all these 5 koshas or all these 5 sheaths that we possess must be directed towards what? Towards the Supreme Being, the Lord, Sri Krishna, over here. So he says, but all of these are entering into you. Even we, that means the Pandavas are also entering into you. And then in the next verse, Arjuna talks about all beings merging into the divine. Yatha nadinam bahavom buvega samudrameva bhimukha dravanti tatha tavami naraloka vira vishanti vaktranyabhivijvalanti. As the swift flowing waters of numerous rivers rush verily towards the sea, so these heroes among men are rushing into thy flaming mouth. That is to say, everybody ultimately merges into the divine. So he says here, even people who are prompted by desires, even people who are so-called evil-minded, they also are going towards the divine. Knowingly or unknowingly, we are all progressing. Swami Vivekananda says that every being is traveling towards the highest truth, from truth that is lower to truth that is higher. Lower truth are those who are engrossed in worldly pursuits, engrossed in doing wicked actions, etc. But they are also progressing. They are also going towards the divine. This is the great philosophy that Hinduism has. This is the philosophy that Vedanta propagates. That is, there is no sinner, that is, ultimate sinner. Everybody is divine. Only the manifestation of the divinity in some of us is less, in some of us it is greater. So one has to, during the course of one's journey in this life, we will increase it slowly and slowly. In fact, life will will force you to give up the little pursuits and then take up the larger pursuits. So that's why he says, Yatha nadinam bahava ambuvegaha. Just as the different streams of rivers, they all go towards the ocean. The ocean does not send an invitation to the river, come and join me. No. It is a natural flow of the rivers to enter into the ocean. So they are all entering into you. That is the idea that it says in one of the scriptures. There is a beautiful verse which has been the title song or the title verse in the movie on Shankaracharya. Akashat patitam toyam samudram pratigacchati sarvadeva namaskaraha keshavam pratigacchati. If you watch that beautiful movie by G.V. Iyer on Sri Shankaracharya, it has got English subtitles and it's in Sanskrit. So this verse occurs every now and then. It's the title song or the title shloka. Yatha, the akashat patitam toyam, the waters that fall from the skies, that is the rain waters, samudram pratigacchati, they all meander and reach the ocean. In the same way, sarvadeva namaskaraha, whatever God we worship, whatever form we meditate upon, all of them ultimately reaches to that one source, that is the divine alone. All of us must reach to that divine. Only some make very concerted, the efforts that are very conducive towards spiritual life, and naturally they reach a little faster, and some will have to go through several births, several trials and tribulations and go into that divine. In the next verse it says, Yatha pradiptam jvalanam patanga vishanti nashaya samruddha vega tathaiva nashaya vishanti loka tavapi vaktrani samruddha vega. As moths swarm swiftly into a flaming fire and perish, so do these men rush headlong into thy mouth to meet with sure destruction. Desiring fire, the moth enters and burns itself, as it were, the firefly. So also the pursuits of desires burns us, but ultimately we will have to go and reach to the divine. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, if you give yourself to the world, you will burn yourself. But if you give yourself to God, He will make you immortal. That is the only difference between these two. He will make you immortal. Otherwise, we will have to go and then come back, keep coming back and going back. In this conjunction, I would like to narrate one incident or two incidents in the life of Sri Ramakrishna and of Swami Vivekananda. With that of Swami Vivekananda, and the young Narendranath wanted to have the vision or wanted to experience the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And he pestered Sri Ramakrishna to give him that realization. Went about begging him, please give me that realization. And Sri Ramakrishna said, well, Naren, it will happen when the right time arrives, you will get it. But Naren was very impatient. So one day Sri Ramakrishna also probably got frustrated and then said, okay. As Naren was sitting, Sri Ramakrishna touched him in his chest, and Naren experienced this, that everything is filled with the divine. As he was walking, going back home, he could see everything is throbbing with the divine consciousness. He could not read, he could not sleep, he could not eat, and he was so much absorbed in it. But at the same time, there was this fear that he will lose himself, lose his individuality in this. So he comes back running to Sri Ramakrishna and says, take this back, I cannot hold it on anymore, I cannot handle it anymore. See, because of that little desire that one has, one cannot enjoy this for longer. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, it was you who asked for it. Now, all right, I will take it back. I will take it and I will lock it. And the key I will keep it with me. And when the right time comes, I will unlock this safe and you will get it. Later, toward the end of his life, so a disciple asked Swami Vivekananda, Swamiji, has the safe been unlocked? He said, yes, the safe has been unlocked. It is now time for me to go back to my master. So that is one thing. That is, one will go back into that. Another is a little bit terrifying, which incident in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. As Sri Ramakrishna sat on the banks of the river Ganga, he saw a beautiful form of a woman coming up from the Ganges, the Ganga, rising to the surface of the river Ganga. And there this beautiful woman gave birth to a baby. And then she very affectionately started fondling the baby. And after some time, Sri Ramakrishna saw something very terrible. He saw that this form of that lady or that woman or the Divine Mother, it assumed a terrible form with fangs opened. And she took the baby and then she gulped it, swallowed it. And Sri Ramakrishna shuddered with fear. And he asked the Divine Mother, he prayed to the Divine Mother, reveal to me what is this. He said, yes, it is me who creates, it is me who preserves, and it is me who ultimately destroys, who take everything unto me. So ultimately we all go back into that highest. Many times especially when calamities like this that has happened recently in Turkey and Syria, when we see that thousands of people are losing their lives and all that, this doubt naturally comes into our mind. Why is the benevolent God, if a God is, why is that benevolent God making people go through, making humanity go through such calamities? It's a very natural question that we all ask. Because we are in it, and therefore we are asking that question. But if we go beyond this level of this worldly existence and then go to a higher level, and there we see that this is ultimately a play of the divine. In a drama, for example, the actors are all engaged, they all have a part to play. Some play the part of a hero, some play the part of a villain, some play the part of the hero destroying the villain and all that. But they are not going to fight back after coming out of the drama theatre and then fight and say, why did you kill me there? Or why did you destroy me there? You will not do that, say that, because they know that it is a part, it's a game, it's a play that one has to enact in order to give some joy to the audience. So here, this play, yes, it appears very terrible for us when we see such calamities, when our heart goes out, and it must go out. We should do our best to help those who are surviving, or to do the maximum possible to alleviate the sufferings of people, there is no doubt. But from a very high standpoint of view, from the standpoint of view of a realized soul, all of this ultimately appears like a drama. Sri Ramakrishna had a nephew, his name was Akshay. Akshay almost grew up with him. He used to sleep next to Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna almost brought him up as if he were his own child. And the child, Akshay, went home to Kamatpukur, his village, once, and there he contracted an illness. In those days, malaria and then cholera was very common in those places. So he contracted cholera probably, and he passed away. And at that time of passing away, Sri Ramakrishna he went into a divine mood. And he started laughing loudly. There were people sitting around him, and he started laughing loudly and clapping his hands with glee, with joy. And after some time, he came down from that state, and then he started crying, profuse tears. And then somebody asked, "Sir, what is wrong with you? You were so full of joy, and now you are full of sadness." So he said, "Look, I just saw that Akshay's soul had left his body, and it was flying, and it was going away to merge with the divine, with the infinite. And seeing this wonderful vision, I clapped, and then I must have jumped with joy. But as I came down to my normal state, that is, this state in this worldly life, I feel the pangs of separation of this child. I feel the pangs of this separation. So that's why you see me crying. So both of these are there. Once you are in that high state, you see that everything ultimately is the play of the divine. But when you come to this world of make-believe, so to say, and then become a part or an actor in this, we feel this joy as well as the misery. So therefore Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Advaito Gyan Achole Bedhe Ja Ichhe Tai Koro. That means keep this knowledge that the divine alone exists and that the divine is beyond the universe, beyond this manifestation. Keep that in a corner, in a pocket, in your pocket, and then you keep on doing everything. But at times you have that realization, or at the time you have to open yourself. That is, go deeper into yourself, meditate, and feel that you are one with the divine ultimately. The divine alone exists and nothing else exists. This is Advaita Jnana, the knowledge of the oneness, ultimate. Prapancha Upashamam Shantam Shivam Advaitam, says the Mandukya Upanishad. Then what happens is Prapancha Upashama. The whole universe will not exist at all. Shantam means you become totally absorbed in the peace. As Christ says, peace that passeth all understanding. The peace that we cannot explain is beyond any explanation, but that which has to be experienced. That is the idea that he gives here. Yatha pradiptam jvalanam, this we have done. Akhyahi meko bhavanu lelihya segra samanas samantat lokan samagran vadanayirjvaladbhi tejobhirapurya jagat samagram bhasastavograh pratapanti Vishnu. It's the same type of explanation. Thou lappest up all these worlds around, like the fire, the laps, everything, devouring them with thy flaming mouth. Thy lust, striking awe into the minds of all, fills this entire universe with its radiance and scorches it, O Vishnu. Akhyahi meko bhavanugra rupo namostu te deva vara prasida vijñātumiccāmi bhavantamadhyam nahi prajanāmi tava pravrittim. Arjuna says to Sri Krishna, deign to tell me who thou art with this awe-inspiring form. We have read in the Bhagavad Gita earlier that Sri Arjuna says, I have now understood you, O Krishna. That is, he had just a knowledge about Sri Krishna, but here he says, Vijñātum iccāmi. I want to know you in depth. Vijnana means, one of the meanings of Vijnana is science. But in philosophy, Vijnana means Vishesha Jnana. That means special knowledge. The knowledge that will not wax or wane, which will not be emptied. The knowledge which will fill oneself. That is the idea here given. Vijñātum iccāmi. Sri Ramakrishna used to give a wonderful example. Says, three friends were walking on a huge meadow, big space. And as they walked several kilometers, they saw a huge wall, and behind that they heard wonderful music was going on. Lot of dance and music was going on. Now, the friends were very keen to know what is there. So the first one somehow climbed up. They brought a ladder and he climbed up. And as soon as he went and climbed to the top of the roof, of that wall, he immediately said, "Ah!" and then he jumped over. And the second one also climbed up, and then he saw, and then he told the other person, the third one who was waiting, "There is a great mark of joy over here," and then he also jumped and went away. And then the third person went up, saw what was going on, came down the ladder, went to the neighborhood, and then said, "There is a great mark of joy over here on the other side. Come, I will also take you." And then he climbed and then took the others also. So Vijnana is what? The Jnana is that of those two people who first went and who saw that there was something very joyful, and therefore they jumped into it. They did not think of others. Whereas Vijnana is one who goes there, sees that there is this great mart of joy, comes back, takes the others also along with. That is to say, I won't enjoy it myself, I will also make others join me and then enjoy. And then at will he could go, and then at will he could also come down. This is the state of a Vijnani. So he says, "Vijnatum ichchami." I want to know more about you. Bhavantamadhyam nahi prajanami tava pravrittim. I do not know. I do not have any other purpose except knowing you. I am in ignorance as of now, but I want to know you. I want to know you in your fullness. That is the idea that is expressed over here. So in order to, the essence of today's study is that in order for us to experience the ultimate, we are made to go through trials and tribulations. We are made to go through experiences which we may not like, which we do not like actually. We will be made through them, made to go through them. We have that very famous prayer of Kunti, which I have mentioned in the classes many times. Vipadah santuna shashvat tatra tatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yatsyada punarbhava darshanam. Mother Kunti, after all the war, everything was over, everything was settled, the Pandavas have become the kings and so on and so forth. And Kunti has become, as usual, the Queen Mother, and everybody is happy. Then comes Sri Krishna to Kunti and says, "Auntie, I want to give you a boon. Ask me anything that you want. Now that the Mahabharata war is all over, now ask anything of me. I am prepared to give you whatever you want." Kunti folds her hands to Sri Krishna and said, "O Krishna, if you have to give me anything, please grant me this wish, that I may experience more and more of trials and tribulations, more and more of difficulties." She had gone through almost hell, but still she says, she prays to the Lord. Why? Bhavato darshanam yatsyat. Whenever I am in trouble, whenever I am in distress, I call after you. I call for you, and you do not have any other choice but to come and reveal yourself to me. You show yourself to me. So that is That is a true sadhaka, a true spiritual seeker's feelings. Trials and tribulations are coming, but we know that it is because you are near me. The more nearer you are, the more trials and tribulations will come, but my job is to hold on to your feet. My job is to go back to you, hug you, and then take you and become one with you. That is the idea. Therefore, in the lives of all great men and women, all great sadhakas, seekers, we find that they have gone through innumerable trials and tribulations. If you see that the sadhana life of Sri Ramakrishna, the 12 years of intense sadhana that Sri Ramakrishna performed, you will read there how much of agony he went through. So much so that Sri Ramakrishna used to go and rub his face on the sand of the river, and he used to pray, "Oh Mother, another day has gone and you have not given me your vision." His face would all be bruised, and yet he will keep on praying to the Divine Mother to reveal herself. Then during his sadhana, Vaishnava sadhana, his whole body used to burn as if it were on fire. And so many medicines were brought and given to him, nothing helped. At last, Bhairavi Brahmani, one of his gurus, she came and she knew, oh, Sri Chaitanya also had experienced this kind of burning over the body, burning all over the body. So Sri Ramakrishna says the burning was so intense that he would go and lie on the cool sands of the river. When it was on low tide, he would go so that it will cool his body, the wet sand. And he says the wet sand would become like a flakes. It will burn or it will bake like a flakes. So such was the intensity of Sri Ramakrishna's yearning for the divine. Of course, then Bhairavi Brahmani engages person, said the only way out of this is to apply sandal paste on his body. So she appointed somebody to grind the sandalwood and get the paste out of it, and then she would keep on applying that on the body of Sri Ramakrishna, and it would cool down. But the intensity, the yearning of the heart would still remain there. The body would be cooled, but the intensity would still remain until he had the vision of the divine. These are the sadhana incidents in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. We may read it from his life. So today we will conclude here, and we will take up the next verse, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, where Sri Krishna talks about his divine nature in the next few verses. Om Shantakaram Bhujagasayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasadrisham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalanayanam Yogiridhyanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavapayaharam Sarvalokaikanaatham. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. We will be celebrating the Shivaratri next Saturday in the evening from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we also have the birthday of Sri Ramakrishna's celebration on the 21st. It's a puja, and then on the 26th we will have a public celebration. So for the next 2 weeks, that is the next Sunday as well as the following Sunday, we will not be studying the Bhagavad Gita. We will continue that after that. We welcome you all to participate in the birthday of Sri Ramakrishna as well as the Shivaratri.